All right, we'll get started. Um, so thanks everyone for joining today. We're going to do a slight presentation on how we can get people back to work, a couple of different partners that we're working with, and then obviously our master distributor and main partner for the United Kingdom, Veracity, is on with us, and they've put together a really good package for how to kind of get people back to work in a safe manner. Obviously, there's a lot of solutions out there, and we're just trying to show you some of the guys that we're working with and what can be done. So obviously a little bit of Nx, most people should know us, but the software itself, as we like to say, it was born from a necessity. Basically just tried to make video a lot simpler, a lot quicker, a lot faster, easier to use, and then obviously a lot more extensible in terms of integrations and things, which is why we're talking about the integrations today. So can AI help for COVID? There's a few different solutions out there claiming that they can help the spread and just generally keep people safer. There's a few different things out there. There's integrations of thermal devices, there's social distancing, there's PPE, there's group detection, there's contact tracing. There's lots of different AIs out there. So we're going to show you a couple of different ones, and you guys can see what suits what needs your customers may have. And then how can Nx help with that? So obviously we've got our system's really good for viewing and alerting people of things that are occurring in real time. It's also really good for investigation and kind of seeing who was in a certain place at a certain time. And then obviously we've got that advanced rules engine that allows us to do a lot more linkaging into creating these more intelligent systems. So what kind of solutions are available that we work with? Most people know these ones. Your embedded cameras that have thermal. Obviously, Dahua, Hikvision, two of the largest ones, but there's also Sunel and lots of other companies out there working on it. Obviously, there's a lot of debate on these, how accurate they are, how useful they are. So the best thing is to talk to whichever manufacturer you prefer and get more information from them. But from our point of view, the cameras can connect with our system. We can bring that in. You can see the screenshot inside of Nx here. This is with the Dahua camera. We've got the thermal version and the identification version coming through. We can do alarm linking with that, and in 4.1, we'll actually have the full meta integration as well. So we'll be able to boundary boxes over the identification video stream, not just the thermal stream. And obviously we can set up alerts that links based off of if there's a high temperature alert or something like that. Again, there's a lot of people talking about these at the moment. It's best just to speak to the camera manufacturer to see exactly how useful and how accurate these are. It's actually a traditional solution that I think a lot of people know about and are working with. As I said, all integrates with us, depending on which camera or which solution you choose. So social distancing. So we're working with a company called Centurion. They've done a pretty simple and quick and easy to deploy social distancing system. The way it works is you break up the screen into 8 zones and you just make sure that there's only one person in the zone at a time. And then obviously based on that, we can link and alert if there's 2 people in the zone. So it's a short video here just to give you an idea. We have multiple people stood in a car park. So for instance, if you're in a queuing environment and you want to make sure that your queue is separated correctly, you can see when the gentleman stands too close, we get a notification inside of the system that basically tells you that there's a social distancing alert that's gone off. And again, he does it front there as well. So pretty simple, easy way to do that. Works on any camera. So again, that's Centurion, who's a partner of ours. So for their social distancing kind of solution. Another partner of ours out of Australia, they're kind of taking it a little bit different. They're focusing on the temperature side of things. They do some pretty cool things where they take a baseline temperature. So this is more for work environments, where rather than using the accuracy of the actual thermal device itself, which they take into account weather conditions and external factors to actually use AI to make their thermal temperature readings a lot more accurate. But what else they do is they take, for instance, over a 30-day period or whatever the period may be, they create a baseline for a staff employee. So if someone's constantly being measured at, for instance, 38.2, like you can see on the screen, then if there's deviations from that measurement, it gives you a higher accuracy that someone actually got the fever. Because rather than just, some people run hot on the skin temperature, some people don't. So this actually tells you, for instance, like over a 30-day period, they had some anomalies. This is the anomaly. So it then allows you to have a bit more accuracy because it's used over a long period of time using facial recognition to basically track the people and their average temperatures over time. So a little bit of a different solution. Obviously, you have to enroll people into the system. I would have thought to be able to do that. And it works obviously in work environments and things. Also really good for contact tracing. So again, if you're in a large environment or a large corporation, you want to see, okay, this person, they had COVID. Now, over the last 14 days of the incubation period, show me everybody that person came into contact with. And now you can do some contact tracing. You can actually show, all right, this staff member has been reported to have COVID or some kind of virus. Show me everybody they've seen or come into contact with over the last 14 days. And then you'll get a full list, so you can actually try and get them or all of those employees to then also obviously do some self-isolation or get tested to ensure that you're stopping the spread quite quickly, because it takes a while to sometimes find out that someone has COVID or some form of virus, and it may have spread before you actually know that they've got it. So some really cool solutions there, a couple of different unique ones, little taster video that they've put together. Again, these guys are out of Australia. Like I said, a bit of a different solution to what other people are doing with temperature. So you can see here, obviously, they've overlaid temperature camera. You've got the facial recognition, and it's all built into their app and obviously fully integrated with Nx via the Meta SDK as well, for your boundary boxes and all your information coming in. So a pretty tight solution from those guys. So moving on to the next one. So Evasive Technologies. These are a company that we work with out of Spain. They've done some really cool different solutions. So the way that they're working on it is they've got a temperature version where they've taken a pretty low-end temperature camera and managed to get its accuracy up to, down to 0.5 degrees. They've also do PPE detection, so they can detect if someone's wearing face masks, what type of face mask, if it's the right standard, and social distancing as well. So the social distancing works really well. You can cover a large area, and it will alert you if any two people move within a 2-meter period space between each other, which is configurable as well. So if there's changes later on to legislation, that can be changed in the config setting. And then obviously this is all tied into Nx with the metadata SDK, which allows you to set off alerts based on if someone's got a high temperature and they're not wearing a PPE, or if there's two people that are too close to each other. So we can see a video here of everybody in the green box is obviously fine. And then when these two gentlemen come too close together, you can see a line gets drawn between them, which is your measurement line, and basically sets off the alert that they're too close to each other and not adhering social distancing rules. And this is pretty good. They obviously, being in strict lockdown in Spain, they've been working on this a lot from home, which is why they actually set their mobile phone up as a camera for this and still managed to run the AI pretty successfully on it. So it'd be even more stable and successful in an actual environment. And the nice thing about this system is it's all embedded, and also these guys are working with Veracity, and they'll show you what they've kind of put together as a package a little bit later on. So also, last one is, how does Nx fit into all of this? Obviously, they all integrate with us, but how can we kind of assist in making the system a lot more smooth? And one of the main things we do is obviously that intuitive monitoring. It's really easy to get alerts and launch things full screen based on things that are going on, especially with the Meta SDK. Everything is overlaid on the screen. So if there's a video and there is that sort of social distancing alert, you'll see the red zones where it is on the screen. We can make the video flash so you know exactly which one is having the issue. One of the things we've really focused on with the platform is our situational awareness. We can make it just show you what to see. If you've got a large area or a town center or something that you're monitoring, and you've got hundreds of thousands of cameras. With our advanced rules engine, you can really tie all the automated alerts together, so you're only seeing the video that you need to see, and you're not watching video where there's nothing going on or where people are actually staying apart and everyone's fine. You're only seeing video where there is alarms, alerts, events. And so there's a video here of our rules engine. I think a lot of people know it, or we won't take you through it now, but there's videos from our Nx operator certificate. It's worth, if you haven't done it already, go check it out. If you go to my.networkoptics.com, you can get your own certification there. There's a test online. It's worth going through. It helps you increase your knowledge of the system, really what can be done with NX. So it's worth going to check out that, getting certified in the system. So that's sort of some of the different solutions we're working with. There was thermal, social, contact tracing, ID, PPE detection, and sort of those solutions. And then we were also working with Veracity, obviously in the UK, as I said. They've put together a really good package. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Chris Norton and Tony Lannon from Veracity. They'll just kind of describe their solution and what they've worked out, and see how that goes. So I'll hand over to you guys now.
Thank you, James. This is Chris. I'm joined by my colleague Tony, who is far more technical than I. So Tony will be taking over halfway through to cover how we've pulled this package together. Moving on from what James was saying earlier about the majority of systems that are out there, there's a myriad of flavors out there of all sorts of AI detection type of technology, software packages out there. And I think it's safe to say, and should be said, that really there is no one size fits all here. Working environments are different, whether they be in retail, whether it be sport and leisure, hospitality, warehousing, shops, supermarkets, wherever. They all have different nuances, mainly based around the building. So not everything will work for everybody. So what we're going to do now is go through, the work protection solution that we've pulled together with Network Optics, with Evasive, and using Veracity's advanced storage solutions as well. So if we could go next one, Tony, if you would, or James, who's in charge, or am I in charge? Not me. Right. So the challenges, I think we all probably know the challenges. The main one is trying to help and assist to stop the spread of this catastrophic disease. And one of the main issues that's based around this disease is the impact and effects that it's having on global economies around. It's just devastating economies worldwide, including the UK's and everywhere else. So getting people back to work, but getting them back to work in a safe manner is really quite important. So what we felt as a group is that the most important thing for us is that social distancing, which has been rammed down our throats now for the last 8 to 10 weeks, seems to be the primary way of keeping this virus at bay from individuals. PPE has, again, various sort of connotations and various thoughts about PPE, but most places now are advising, if you're on an enclosed space or on public transport, you wear a face mask. So ensuring that people are following these guidelines, where they are in some countries, there are rules in others. We felt that we needed something to allow us to ensure that people were actually following those rules or those guidelines. Overcrowding in public and private areas, we all know, and we've all been told that overcrowding and social cramming is just not what's needed. We need to stay away from that. And then there's obviously the temperature as well, a highly spiked temperature. However, we've done a lot of research on this. We've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people in research establishments and within government as well. And the feedback that we've got from temperature is it is purely indicative, primarily because most thermal imaging cameras that are out there in a security environment will only be taking your surface temperature, not your core temperature. And your temperature, you could have had the virus for up to 7 days before your temperature will even start to spike. So it's not a true indication of whether you have the virus or whether you don't. For example, somebody could take their motorcycle helmet off, go into their office in the morning, go to their access control system that has a thermal imaging camera, and it won't let them in. Same thing, someone could go in the morning, let you in, you go after for a jog at lunchtime, you go back, you've got a high temperature, red face, and it won't let you in. So there are various nuances, which is why we've looked at how we can try and pull all of these together as a package. So next one, Tony, please. So as James alluded to, we've joined with Network Optix in this as well. We are a very, very close technical and commercial partner with Network Optix and have been for quite some time. Network Optix is embedded into some of our storage solutions, and we have a really good operational working relationship with them. So what we're trying to do here is, with those at Evasive, is to see how we can create alerts for organizations, ensuring that their staff or their customers or just general public are adhering to the social distancing rules. Try and automate control of certain applications within areas. Increase the accuracy of thermal cameras so you can get a better understanding. And as James was saying, create a baseline for people who are regular users and regular frequenters of either an office space or a shop. And probably the most important here is intuitive and fast data recall, so that if anything happens or anything occurs, that you've got everything at your fingertips. And that has been the primary reason for pulling all of this together. Putting it down into a cold store device for storage creates and makes sure that you have a very high secure data storage capability and long-term storage capability. So pulling all of those together is what we've tried to major on. So this is where we believe and how we can get companies back to work in a safe environment. I can only go by people that I know and experiences that we encounter every day, where, for example, in the hospitality industry, people are really desperate to get their restaurants and their bars and everything open. But know that without a good social distancing package, they're just not going to be able to do it. So we're looking at retail. So again, just talk from my own experience. I have a local Tesco's, like most of us have, a local supermarket. I go to Tesco's. Even now, I went to Tesco's yesterday afternoon. There's one person marshalling a queue. There's another person at the door with a little clicker counting people in. There's another person at the other door with a little clicker counting people out. And there's another person just inside the door monitoring and standing by a little cleaning desk where you've got sprays and hand gels and wipes. So immediately you have 4 people, that's 4 head counts, that's 4 members of staff being taken up to do effectively one role. So what we're looking to achieve here is how we can take the head count, automate that head count, and ensure that on a roll-on, roll-off basis or a one-in, one-out basis, that you can disable doors automatically, or you can bring on a traffic light system to say green for go, red for stop. You can detect potential high temperatures at those entrances as well. Display those on a monitor going in. You could then actually utilize a marshalling area where anybody who has a potentially very high temperature or has a high temperature can be moved to the side, and you can ask questions or just not allow them into your office space or your retail center. Again, it has to be usable. The whole thing has to be usable, has to be purposeful, and has to be as free-flowing as we can make it. And making this fully automated and having a fast and easy retrievable storage capability is key to all of this, which is why, again, we've engaged with Network Optix. That we collectively feel, I'm sure Tony's no different, and I'm sure he'll tell you, is that we've seen lots of things on the market. None of it comes up to the scratch of that at the moment. Logistics warehouses, it's a big issue from people that we've been talking to, is stopping infection and people wandering up and down aisles in the canteen areas of lunchtime, and just generally wandering around. the key to all of this is stopping any infection from spreading. And the workplace is probably the biggest area where people are going to get it. We know that external sources, when you're outside, you've got a lesser chance of catching it. So you get into a warm environment like a warehouse or an office, and all of a sudden you have a breeding ground for viruses, whether it be COVID or any other. So we're looking to monitor all employees to make sure they're keeping socially distanced, making sure they're keeping a responsible distance apart, that they're wearing the PPE that they've been given by their employer. That may be face mask, it may be a visor, it may be gloves, maybe a complete overall, whatever that may be, but to ensure that the PPE that they've been given they're wearing, so that they are responsibly taking care of themselves and their colleagues. Also, it's key, we believe, and very important to be able to trigger alerts for people who are not following these rules and guidelines, especially where they could be downstream, which is why we're looking at the storage here of having litigation moving forward. That you went to work, your employer never gave you any guidelines, never followed any guidelines, never issued you with any of this, and all of a sudden they're trying to take you to court for compensation. Having that information on a long-term storage capability is really key to a lot of this as well. Making sure it's secure, it's safe, and protected, so that you protect yourselves as employers, but you also protect yourselves as employees as well. It's an all-encompassing package. Next one, Tony, please. Oh, well, sorry, that's great. Wow, that went quick. We now have excuse me. Tony's going to now take over and go through the technical aspects of how all of this puts together, the component parts, and how and why we believe we have a very, very good, and we're very confident in the solution that we put together. So I'll hand you across to Tony now. And again, if you have any questions, I'm sure we'll all be around later. Thanks. Tony?
Thanks, Chris. Morning to everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to take you through, as Chris suggests, how this solution works, what it looks like, etc. So we'll look at the architecture of this. This is going to be two separate offerings. As Chris said earlier, there's a thermal option if you require it, and it's a requirement from your customer. We do have that option as part of this package. So the package is split into two. So first package is PPE. That's obviously over an AI box. I'm going to show you this box shortly so you can have a look what it's like. You've got PPE on the social distancing, and this has got a built-in Nx Witness server. So for those of you who've got Nx currently, this will just fit into your server half, as you expect with any other server you put on the system with Nx. So it's quite robust. The fact that you get everything that you've had before. So you can have 4 cameras, or a maximum of 4 cameras on each box. That, as I say, could be your PPE and social distancing over the cameras. They're on existing cameras as well, if you want to do it that way. That's available to you, obviously, through your NX clients. You get this connects, as I say, into an NX client for your monitoring, your alerts, and your playback. I think, as James showed you before, where you get the thumbnails popping up when you've had an incident, like somebody not having a mask or taking the mask off, for example. That's pretty pertinent, I have to say. Certainly when you're looking in big warehouse complex where half the team will go and have lunch break in the canteen, and they come back out and they're not got a mask on. So all that will get alerted. That will send capability of sending push notifications, obviously, to the alarm manager as well, live, so that they can actually go and address it and make sure they adhere to what they should be doing. All of this then will transgress down for storage into our cold store. We're going to use the cold store compact with this, one, to keep the cost down for you guys and cost down for the customer as well, for the end user. The beauty of this is this can be moving forward as well. When hopefully we clear this virus, I'll get out of the predicament we're currently in. They'll be able to use this going forward as well for this and other things as well. Second option is the PPE solution with AI on the thermal side of it as well. Again, a built-in NX server. This will be a 4-camera system, exactly the same. Don't forget, if you're going to use a thermal solution, you're going to need an overview camera as well for the thermal camera. So you've got the view, and then you've got the thermal view as well. Again, that goes back into and stores in the Veracity cold store. Good thing about the cold store is you can have as many days as you want in it. You just keep adding cold stores in. Some people might want to keep this for quite a long time. Certainly in the industry like Mars, for example, Mars keep the data for 5 years. Not so sure they want to keep this for 5 years, but it's an option there if they want to, and they can certainly have enough storage to do that with. So we also have an enterprise solution part of this as well. And this can be run over multiple sites. So, you know, you've got a customer who's got 20 sites and they want to bring everything back into one place. They can do that as well via the cloud. And that will go onto an enterprise reporting platform, which will show you all the incidents, you know, people taking masks off, high temperatures and all the rest of it. That can also be used in a sort of like a supermarket environment. And as Chris suggested earlier, having a monitor at the door as people are coming through, and they can see, you know, how many people in the store, have they got masks on, are they doing this, are they doing that, etc., etc. So quite an expandable system as well if it's required, a simple system if it's not required, you know, so this fits all parts. So what do the components look like? So these are the two options we've just discussed. Option 1, cold store compact thermal camera, and the AI box. Now this AI box is an NVIDIA AI box. This is the latest technology out on the market. Nice little box, I've got to say. This has got outputs, input outputs for sending a verbal notification, like, you know, you can't come in, or, you know, stand 2 meters apart, or whatever that's going to be, or what it's going to look like. You can also run, as Chris had said, a traffic light system. So flash red, won't let you in, locks the door, won't let you through. Next person comes along who's fine, they can come in, they've got the PPE on, etc. So I think you get the idea of that. So the second option is a cold store with the same box, with a different piece of software running in it. It's obviously Nx Witness server built in again. And this will do social distancing and PPE detection. Again, wonderful cameras as well. And as I said, same capabilities for cold store for your storage options. So the box itself, that's a bit of, hopefully that's a better picture for you, a bit more zoomed in, if you like. Again, because the NX server is built in, and I'm going to stress again that this is part of the Hive, because the Hive is quite unique with NX Witness, and offers quite a lot of benefits as being part of that Hive infrastructure. And again, you've got multiple sites, you'll have multiple pieces of these which will all pop up as servers onto your screen. So you can access each one individually as you want to, or you can merge them all together if you want to as well, as you would do with your sites on the Nx Witness today, just with cameras. So as I say, you've got PPE, thermal and social distancing on this. That includes masks, visors if they're required, gloves if they're required, and obviously the temperature control if that's something you want to look at. So from the VMS point of view, the Nx Witness, for some of you who are not familiar with this, for me as Veracity, this is probably the greatest VMS I've seen for at least 20 years in our industry, and I've been around a long time. It's flexible. The recall on this is unbelievable. The failover systems and everything else that it's got built in, it'll fall over to one server, falls back over to another server if it fails and starts recording. Polling on that's about 60 seconds, which you can actually change. You want that to happen faster. So if you have a server fail, this will fall over. That'll then say to the other one, that one's fell over, we'll start recording those cameras. So you've got all that flexibility built into this. The cold store compact. The compact is an 8-bay machine. This is a 2.5 inch drive machine. so solid state drives in this particular one, up to 40 terabytes if it's required, obviously. You've got to bear in mind as well, if you've got a site where you want a few of these AI boxes, you probably only need the one cold store to actually do all the recordings too. So you've got that capability, again, keeping your costs down. So this runs off 16 watts of power. 16 watts to run a storage box is absolutely cutting edge technology, and I'm quite proud to say it's our product. It runs off what we call a LAID system, linear array of idle disks, and it runs a patented sequential filing system, SFS. So basically, it writes sequentially, a bit like an LP. You know, it's not got any bouncing around heads like you've got in RAID. It doesn't get the heat, hence why we called it cold store. And this machine was actually built to overcome hard drive failures. So quite a robust machine. Longevity on this machine in the marketplace is 10 years plus for the unit, which is excellent. That's all I've got. So James, I'm going to hand back over to you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chris and Tony. I think it's a really good solution that we're coming to market with in the UK. Obviously, we're happy to be partnered with Veracity and always leading forward. We're coming up with new solutions for things in the market. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask away. There is a Q&A button on your Zoom dashboard. If you type the question, we'll respond to you. But yeah, thanks again for everyone for joining. Also, feel free to email us on the email addresses that Tony's left up on the screen. Any of us will get back to you with any questions that you've got if you don't want to ask them here. We'll leave it open for a few minutes as people drop off, and then we'll end it when we drop down to a smaller number. Yeah, so the social distancing in a crowd. So the question was asked, what about the social distancing in a crowd? So if you saw the pervasive video, the social distancing works there in a crowd. So obviously for the Centurion one we showed, because of the way the zones work, it's more of a queue management system. However, for the pervasive system, it will just take anyone within the camera view, identify it's a person, ensure that they're at least 2 meters apart. So that works inside of the crowd, as it can detect multiple objects at the same time. Tony, do you have a video of that one? If you wanna pop it up.
Give me a second while I have a look for it.
Yeah. If you got one, might as well we can pop it up there for the Civi. So here you go. If you see on the screen now, it's identifying multiple objects. So you can see it's doing 3 different camera views. You can see it's identifying the groups of people in the bottom right. In the bottom left, it flashes when the people are walking too close to each other. And in the top one, you can see there's not as many people, but it's grabbing them. They come in, you can see at what point it identifies people. You can see which ones are tagged and which ones aren't. So yeah, really good inside of a crowd environment, actually. And this is obviously the one that Veracity are partnering with as well. So it's worth reaching out to Tony, to Tony or Chris if you want to get more details on that solution. All right, we'll give it a couple more minutes, and then we will we'll end the call. Thanks again for everyone for joining.
Yep, thank you all.
All right, most people dropped off now, so I'll end it. All right,
Okay.
we'll speak to you guys shortly.
Yep, cheers, mate.